Good morning. John Larson has been congressman for Connecticut's 1st District since 1999, and now, for the first time, he's being challenged by at least 3 fellow Democrats, Jack Perry, Ruth Fortune, and former Hartford Mayor Luke Bronin. Mayor Bronin joins us this morning. Welcome.
Thanks, Eric. Good to be with you.
So you made this announcement. Why the timing? Why did you want to do it when you did it? And why did you decide to get back into it?
Well, the timing is because our country is in crisis right now. I think the Democratic Party is in crisis right now, and we have to start doing things differently. And I think we have to respond to this in this moment with a clear, aggressive message that pushes back against the damage that Donald Trump is doing, but that also lays out a really clear agenda and vision for how we're going to make life better and easier and healthier and more affordable for everybody. And that means focusing on things like housing and health care and child care. And I want to see a Democratic Party that is, again, aggressive and clear in that message every single day.
Is there something within your entire party that is talking about that kind of message that you're referencing there? We're seeing some candidates who haven't been challenged, at least not seriously, in a primary in quite some time. Rosa DeLauro, Joe Courtney, the governor, facing primary challengers well out ahead of Election Day. Is there just a sense in the party that maybe change is needed? Forget an individual race?
Look, again, forgetting any individual race, I'd say I sure hope there's a sense in the party that change is needed. I mean, we lost last year to, and not just the presidency, but the presidency and the Senate and the House of Representatives, to a party that is led by a man who is increasingly about chaos and corruption and cruelty, and yet we lost. And so we better be willing to say that we need to make some changes. And I think there are 2 changes. One, we need to make sure that we are really clear about what's at stake and the damage that the Trump administration is doing. But we also have to win back the trust of the American people that we're focused on the issues that they are feeling every single day. Again, those core cost of living affordability issues, because at the end of the day, it has to be possible to build and live a good middle class life. And we have to be a party that is fighting relentlessly to do that.
Obviously, whether you make it an issue of the campaign or not, age is going to be a factor here. I mean, John Larson has been in Congress since, basically you were just out of high school. In that world, are you able to sell yourself as an outsider? Because you worked in presidential administrations, you were chief counsel to a governor, you obviously were the mayor of Hartford, we know you from that. Yeah. You're someone who's been in politics basically your whole adult life in one way or another. You're a lot younger than him, but you're certainly not an outsider in this campaign.
I mean, what I'd say is I've been in service for most of my adult life, right? I mean, I served in Afghanistan, as you said, served in the Obama administration at the state, and then 8 years as mayor of Hartford through some of the most challenging years the city's ever faced. I think that's a set of experiences that is really important to bring to the job. And at the same time, I think I bring the outsider perspective of not having been in that institution for, more than a quarter of a century. That there's something to be said for being able to come in and say, maybe we shouldn't be doing things exactly the way we've always been doing them. And I hope that provides a good balance of experience, but also new perspective and a real sense of urgency about making some bigger changes that are long overdue.
When you make that argument, the counter, of course, is that when you're in Congress for 25 years, you make connections and relationships and get chairmanships. And he's talked a lot about his chairmanship on the Social Security Committee, and he says there's work still to be done there, Congressman Larson, so that you reach a level of power that a freshman wouldn't have. How do you respond to that?
So a couple things. First, let me just say I have an enormous amount of respect for John Larson, and I would be proud to take up that mantle and help lead the fight for protecting Social Security, which I want to be there for everybody who's getting it and for generations to come. But a couple things. It's really no longer true that you have to be there for decades to make a difference. If you look at some of the big committees and subcommittees, 49 of the subcommittees down there, the ranking Democrat is somebody who's been there for less than 4 terms. One of the most important committees, the House Oversight Committee, the ranking member there is somebody who's in his 2nd term as a member of Congress. So I think that sometimes people who've been in Congress for decades use seniority as a justification for being there forever. And at a certain point, it's just no longer true that you can't make change without that. And it's also, I think, not really fair to the system or to our institutions or to the people to say that, we can't bring in new voices.
We talked about this when you were mayor and you were on this show. There's going to be a segment of our viewership who will just turn their nose up at Hartford. They live somewhere out away from the capital city, and they associate it maybe with crime or with litter or something. There's going to be people who think that. As you make your pitch for this seat, what are you proudest of as your time in as mayor that you can point to and say, see, I did that and I'm going to help you?
Well, first of all, I think it's important to say, your viewers also saw me working 24/7, 365 for 8 years, fighting for my city every way that I could. Look, I inherited a city that was bankrupt, and we built partnerships and made some really tough decisions to get it on a sound fiscal path. And at the end of the day, lower property tax rate by the biggest amount in many, many years. We were able over a period of years to bring the overall crime rate down really significantly. We got a lot of housing built and attracted investment for the first time in a long time. And of course, a lot of that was, we also struggled against the pandemic, which was a punch in the gut for us and for every city. But we led transparently and clearly. One of the things I'm probably most proud of was things like creating the Hartford Youth Service Corps, which at this point has given thousands of young people their first chance to earn a paycheck, do something that matters in their community, get connected to mentors and supports, and it's now something that the state is looking to take statewide, and I'm really proud of that.
As you've talked a lot about the message and about you, is there something that you can point to that you say, I would do that different than John Larson has done? Is there a decision, a vote, something that he's supporting that you'd say, that's not right?
Well, look, you talked about Social Security. Again, I commend John for his focus on Social Security, but it also feels to me like too often that's the only thing he talks about, and it matters. But so does housing, and so does health care, and so does child care, and so does getting serious about the corruption that is increasingly a part of our politics, that the Trump administration is putting on full display. And what the Republicans are doing right now down in Texas to try to steal seats with gerrymandering. We need to be pushing back on all of that. So some of it is that I think the job of a congressman is and has to be to do more than just one thing. But the other way is that we have to communicate in every way, every day, everywhere we can. We can't afford just to be thinking of the job as inside a subcommittee room or, giving speeches to an empty chamber in the House. I think we need every single Democrat to be out there relentlessly carrying our message to our base, but also to folks who may not agree with us, and actually do the work of having conversations to bring people back. And I think that part of doing that is making sure that we get some new voices who are going to be tireless in doing that work.
Only 30 seconds left, but John Larson, someone you worked with closely when you were mayor. Is that an overarching thing in this campaign? I mean, you guys worked closely together for many years.
Again, I have an enormous amount of respect for him, and we did work closely together, and I was thankful for that partnership. And I think if as congressman, I would want to be a close partner with every single community in my district. But the world that we're in right now has changed so much in the last year alone, and I think it's time that we start changing with it.
All right, well, about a year out from the primary, we'll be hearing a lot from you on our news broadcast and hopefully back here on CT 25 and 26. Luke Bronin, thanks for being with us.
Thanks, Eric.